This man has never knocked nobody out cold. He's a bully. He's slow. He has no skill, no footwork. He's awkward. And I have given him a name. Because he fights. When he's fighting, if you ever watch him in the ring, he drags like that after his opponent. and how's the mummy gonna catch me?
And all I had to do was to go out and beat a man who had no skill, no class. Seriously, the man had no skill. I don't know why the world is so foolish to believe in him and think that I wasn't going to win.
Well, when you say you're ready to go to war right now...
I see that guy on the street, I beat him before the fight.
You'd actually take him on before the fight?
Beat him like I'm his daddy.
Basketball players out there, football players, they want to beat so bad, they want to get everybody. I'll go to Mars, I don't care.
For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lights Out Debates, where we dare you to debate. And we've got a new debater here for the first time, although he has been around the block. We've debated together otherwise. Casual here and Travis, they'll be debating who had more help, Larry Bird or Magic Johnson. And Magic Johnson will be argued for by Travis, Larry Bird by Casual. But first, before we get into that, welcome Casual. And please tell us a little bit about yourself and any sort of channels you're associated with.
What's going on, everybody? Salute. Everybody in here already knows me, so I don't think I need to go crazy. But my name is Casual. I have a channel called Who Conduct on YouTube. I post in-depth analysis videos. I also have a second channel called Casual Reacts, where I'm reacting to God knows what in the sports world. I'm also going live as we speak right now on playback. Even after we finish this, we're going to talk a little bit about WWE SummerSlam Night 1. We're going to predict for Night 2. We're also going to be finishing up the 2K draft that I got going on in the server. Please make sure to, when you go to my channel, there should be a link in my bios for the Discord server. Please join. We always are doing, crazy things in there. And yeah, that's really my life at this point.
We've got Travis here, but just real fast, Casual, will you be able to help judge our Hulk Hogan versus Stone Cold Steve Austin debate? Who's greater after this one? Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
Travis, how are you today, sir?
Excellent. How are you?
Great. Travis, can you tell everybody why you think, in a paragraph, why you think that, or can you preview the debate and why you think that Magic Johnson had more help than Larry Bird?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to clarify, this isn't. I think this is a debate that can go on for multiple episodes. Not just because this is not all time. This is just comparing the two players, and obviously there's different matchups we can talk about, so it's interesting. But I think that Magic Johnson, especially just compared to Larry Bird, and I don't want to tip my hand here, but just I think that he. Magic Johnson was an incredible piece and the missing piece to what would become a juggernaut, consistent roster. And to juxtapose that, I think Larry Bird basically, in short term, was the system and basically was the heart and soul of that team, and especially statistically. And I intend to prove that today.
Casual, if you can give us a preview of this debate, how's it going to go, and why you think that Magic Johnson has more help in the race?
How's it gonna go? I'm gonna win. The conversation though, I think legitimately, like all troll aside, I think it's a very legitimate one. I think it's gonna come down to how he argues for the star power that Magic Johnson had, and compare and contrast to the quantity of players that came through the Boston Celtics franchise during the late 70s to early 80s. To early mid 80s. And I think Magic Johnson has played with phenomenal talent, but like compared to Larry Bird, with the quantity of talent that was coming in and out of that franchise, especially in the middle of the decade, I think that it's hard to fight that.
All right, we haven't discussed this. There was we're trying to get all this together. It was running a little bit late. We started this. Travis, who is going to go first in this debate?
Well, if for any first-time debater on our show, I'd like to give them the option. So, Casual, whatever you'd like, man.
You can start. That's fine.
Okay.
Are we doing? Is it us first or is it Hulk Hogan first?
It's us first.
It's
yeah,
you.
We're up right now.
It's us first. All right. Sound like plan.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so King's Speech Row will be the other judge. We've got two judges for this debate. This means that there can be a draw with this. So we will see how this goes. We will both be taking some notes and discussing who we thought won at the end of this. King's Speech Row and myself are going to go to the back. We've got three-minute rounds for the people who have never been here before. And we've got the tail of the tape. King's Speech Row just left the background anyway. But just talking about the tail of the tape, Travis is 0-1 on the channel. The top, as it talked about, who had more help, Magic and Bird. Travis is more of a stats-based guy. Casual goes and he is more balanced in his argument approach. His go to Tim Duncan. Travis's is Braun to get a perspective of what they value, and both like the 2000s. I don't know how true this is for you, Casual. It's just my perspective of things. So,
wait, say it again. So one more time.
That your favorite era is the 2000s.
Oh, yeah, my favorite area is the 2000s.
All right. Well, here's the tail of the tape. You'll see what's happening here. I'm going to back up. I'm going to put the timer on Travis. You know the deal. You got 10 seconds. And then the match will begin. The round changes after the bell. Immediately transition to there. Let's get it on.
Three, two, one.
All right, guys. So you heard it. We got Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird, who had more help today. And so I'm asserting that Magic Johnson had more help between the two. Okay. Now, just to be clear, and I want to just so there's no confusion here, I'm reiterating that players should not be docked for the caliber of team they played for. All right. That's beyond their control. And there's far too much context that goes into a championship caliber roster to hold against one player, win, lose, or draw. Okay. They should be judged by their overall content of their resume. That being said, team greatness is dependent on a variety of factors, including winning or how much they win, championship success, consistency, I would say above all, right? And it's disingenuous to say that the names on the roster do not largely determine the success of said team, okay? It's widely accepted throughout NBA history that the most successful teams, those we would call dynasties, had, in hindsight, many of the then current best players in the league and in retrospect of all time. Okay, we can point to the 60s Celtics, helmed by guys like Bill Russell, Cousy, Sam Jones, Havlicek, Tom Heinsohn, etc., led by one of the best coaches of all time, Red Auerbach. Move ahead to teams like the 90s Bulls, 2000s Lakers and Spurs, Warriors, etc. All these consistent dynasties, okay? Without fail, these were some of the deepest, best, and greatest teams of all time, objectively speaking, because they all have the necessary ingredients to achieve dynastic success, excellent coaching, deep, reliable bench play, and all-time star power leading the way. Okay, in this regard, the 80s Lakers are near the top of that team, or near the top of those guys in team hierarchy. Okay, but let's break down how this relates to Magic Johnson and ultimately later on to Larry Bird, okay, as we juxtapose. So the Lakers acquired Magic Johnson, again, with the number 1 pick in one of the bigger NBA swindles of all time, and in no small part due to a degree of league interference. That's a story for another day, okay? Soon after, the Lakers would draft the legendary James Worthy in 1982, with yet another number 1 pick acquired from the Cavaliers after a disastrous trade decision from Cavs owner Ted Stepien, okay, where he would give up the number 1 pick in the draft for role player Don Ford and a late first-round pick. Just for a bit of context, James Worthy is still the only number 1 pick to ever be selected by a defending NBA champion. Okay, the rich got richer. Worthy would go on to become one of the greatest players in league history and a definitive top 10 small forward of all time. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and pause there, and just to set the framework, like we did for what Magic entered into and what the situation was going forward for the Lakers franchise. Okay, and especially compared to Larry Bird, and we'll go on round 2.
So real quick, just want to remind everybody, yes, Tim Duncan is a top 5 player, but I think it's fair to try to tell the story, but we could just skip the storyline. I think we all as NBA fans understand the beginning and how we got to this point of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird being on the Boston Celtics and the Lakers, which are 2 of the greatest franchises in NBA history. But even with understanding that, I think we all can agree that with the greatest teams that the greatest teams that Magic was able to have, the complete roster that Larry Bird has is like far superior. I think when we're talking about a team that has not only Kevin McHale, but also Robert Parrish, not only Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish, but also has Danny Ainge coming off of the bench. Not only have Danny Ainge coming off of the bench, but also has Tiny Archibald, and then flexed into Dennis Johnson right shortly after. Not only having a Larry Bird there, but also having a Cornbread Maxwell who was able to win a Finals MVP. Not only having those type of caliber players, but also having players of all-time proportions coming from the ABA into the NBA, being able to join the team throughout their careers so that they could be able to try to tag up for a championship like Artis Gilmore did. These are the names that they are inviting in. Also, a person like Bill Walton, who won a championship on the Portland Trailblazers, and was able to get on their team as a 6th man to pair alongside Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish and Larry Bird. These are the names that we're talking about. We're also talking about a Pete Maravich able to get on this team. We're also talking about a player like Reggie Lewis able to be on this team, which he talked about a number 1 overall pick and James Worthy. Talk about the number 2 overall pick being put on the 86 Celtics or the 87 Celtics. Talk about the players like Dave Cowens being able to ingratiate Larry Bird properly onto this roster. These are not teams that Larry Bird is being put on that are just on the rise. No, these are a team that is one piece away, and Bird was that piece versus a player like Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson is coming onto teams where he's having to be a multitude of different things. He's having to play off ball when Norm Nixon is there, and then play on ball so that he could be able to feed the ball to the other pieces that are around him, like a Byron Scott, like a Michael Cooper, like a Kareem Abdul, who, even though my opponent will mention how dominant of a player Kareem was not dominant throughout the entire 80s. Versus a Larry Bird, who Larry Bird was able to sit back and sit at the throne as he watches the other people excel and take him to other places. I would like to also mention players like ML Carr, Chris Ford coming off of the bench is giving him.
All right, guys. So just here now, building on what we discussed for round 1, in terms of championship help, okay, all told during their 9 finals appearances, the Lakers never had fewer than 3 presumptive Hall of Famers on the roster at any one time, okay, with 3 being the fewest. That was during the 91 campaign. Also, it should be mentioned that many players who later made up the presumptive or the various Laker cores previously had various types of success on other teams, such as Jamal Wilkes, who won Rookie of the Year while on Golden State Warriors, and also collected 2 all-defensive teams before he joined the Lakers. Mychal Thompson was a productive starter for Portland. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was far and away the best player for a full decade and the league MVP by the end of the 1980 season. But it goes beyond simple name recognition. The numbers help to paint a stark picture of just how great this roster consistently was. Offensively, Magic Johnson was, on average, the third scoring option on the Lakers during the 9 seasons the Lakers made a playoff run that resulted in a finals appearance, with that number dropping to 4th during his first 5 appearances. We saw multiple stars lead the way in this regard, like Kareem, Byron Scott, James Worthy, Jamal Wilkes, Bob McAdoo, etc. Keep in mind, this was after Magic Johnson was arguably the most dominant offensive force in East Lansing high school history, and he was no worse than the second scoring option during his college days. Just for comparison, out of every consensus top 10 player, Magic Johnson joins Bill Russell as the only 2 players to have led their respective teams in scoring during a finals playoff run on just 1 occasion. Okay, and Magic had a 9-season sample size. Now, defensively, it's the same story. During Magic's tenure with the Lakers, they were no worse than 13th in defensive rating, and that was 1983. Okay, every other year they were safely inside the top 10. It's well known that Magic Johnson never made an all-defensive team, even though he led his team in steals twice. So how are they so great defensively? From 1980 to 1991, the Lakers had had 5 players who would register as top 5 in either defensive box plus or minus, defensive win shares, or overall defensive rating at least 1 time. None of them were named Magic Johnson. That's not even to mention 1987 Defensive Player of the Year and 8-time All-Defensive Selection Michael Cooper, okay, who was the defensive rock for the Lakers during Magic's prime. And just for a bit of context before we flip and tie this into how Larry Bird relates to this, okay, Larry Bird led the league in defensive win shares 4 times. Not just his team, the entire league, okay? Now, again, we're going to go ahead and we pause it there, but again, in the next round, we're going to tie this all together, okay? Juxtapose the 2 players and really bring the situation that I just described to you, the numbers, the help, and really reflect on how Larry Bird disagrees.
I believe that he's mentioning that the Los Angeles Lakers were dominant on the offensive end. Trust me when I say I don't disagree there, but I think that we are low-key diminishing what was valued at that time period. At that time period, having an all-time offense is a little bit more simpler because of rules that were allowing them to do so, in compare and contrast to having an elite defense. And the Celtics were able to still provide such to the tune of being the only team in the entire decade to win 82% or more of their games. Let me repeat that again. This is a team in the Boston Celtics who are able to win 82% or more of their games in that decade. That is dominance. And what makes it even more dominant is when you take into account that they were winning these at the Lakers' expense. See, while the Lakers are sitting here with Magic Johnson, Byron Scott, or Michael Cooper, depending on the team that you want to talk about, James Worthy, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the Boston Celtics are sitting here with rosters that would make today's NBA look like minuscule teams. We're talking about a team in the Boston Celtics that's able to sit there with Larry Bird at the helm, and then follow that up with Robert Parrish, and then follow that up with Danny Ainge, and then follow that up with Tiny Archibald, and then follow that up with Cornbread Maxwell, Kevin McHale, Rick Roby, Scott Weidman. That's not an impressive enough roster for you? Okay, let's go to the 86 roster. Danny Ainge, Larry Bird, Rick Carlisle, Dennis Johnson, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, Sam Vincent, Bill Walton, Scott Weidman still. These are some historic names for the Celtics franchise who collectively, along with the coach of Casey Jones, is able to dominate to the tune of winning 67 games and going into the postseason, a tougher conference as well, and able to see even higher success, being able to beat the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan, being able to smoke the Sidney Moncrief Milwaukee Bucks, and then go up against the Houston Rockets with the twin towers of Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon, and they see great success against them as well. That's the dominance of the Boston Celtics, the same Houston Rockets team that on the route to getting to the NBA Finals were able to beat this supposed dominant Lakers roster.
And well, guys, I'm going to give you right now the title together here with what I explained in round two. I explained how the Lakers had a dominant supporting cast for Magic Johnson to go ahead and supplement. And right now, I'm going to tie you in with the actual numbers that matter as far as Larry Bird compared to Magic Johnson and the rosters. So again, you can see where my point is coming from and outline how Magic Johnson had former help. Okay, so Larry Bird absolutely had help, as my opponent outlined. No one's disputing that. He played with groups that he just mentioned. I'm not going to go over them again. Okay, he did a great job with that. So Larry Bird was the player that they could and did found. Johnson was simply the missing piece that would get the juggernaut moving. Consider this. Bird joined a 20 Celtics team that had won 29 wins the year before. Okay, they were a lottery team. He joined that with no other significant additions that year, turned them into a 6-1 win division winner. Okay, his first year, where he led them in points downs. Okay, now Bird's 5 finals runs. Okay, he led his team in points and rebounds 4 times, including leading his team with all the greats that were just described to you by my opponent. Leading his team in rebounds and assists twice. Johnson led his in 2 categories in 84 and 91. And net all during all those Bird led his team in assists personnel. because he look
Magic Johnson, had Michael Cooper, Bob McAdoo, along with I think we can all agree is play against this lost games.
This debate, I think there was.
All right, so
And they got to run
a good job of, as I said, first overall.
All right. Apologize for technical difficulties. I'm just going to run through my whole thing because he's clearly having issues. So, so Travis did a fantastic job in the first round of setting the stage of what he wanted to describe of why Magic Johnson had more help than Larry Bird. So he said it's talking about the overall content of the resume, the team greatness on a variety of factors. Most so consistency is why that a team would have more help. Dynasties in hindsight have the best players on them, and that Lakers are near the top of this. It took you 2 minutes outside of that to start talking about how Magic had more help. You talked about how James Worthy was drafted. He was the only number one pick ever drafted by a champion. You set the frame for the situation. Casual, he said he wanted to skip the story. He immediately he enlisted players that were on the Boston Celtics that he thought were fantastic players and help. And then it was about, and he talked about Bill Walton, who had previously won an MVP and a championship, Artis Gilmore. And then he said that Magic Johnson would play off ball with Norm Nixon, so that he was more so a part of the team than Larry Bird because he would do what needed. And then, so although Travis did a fantastic job of setting the stage, I think he ceded a lot of the time and didn't really get to the point of addressing things in that round. So I had to give that round to Casual, although I thought it was a fantastic way to set the debate up. So for the next round, Travis talked about the championship. The Lakers never had fewer than 3 presumptive Hall of Famers in hindsight. Various types of success with Jamal Wilkes, the all teams with on the Golden State Warriors. They had Kareem as a multiple-time league MVP and others on that team. That Magic Johnson was the 3rd or 4th scoring option. Talked about Bob McAdoo. How Johnson was dominant in high school and college. And then that Magic Johnson, Bill Russell only led the finals playoff run once ever. That their defensive rating being so good was because of everyone else on the team. Talking about top 5 box plus or a defensive box plus minus. And then Larry Bird won the league in defensive win shares 4 times. So Casual responded and says that the Lakers were dominant on offensive end, but it was simpler because of the rules instead of defense. He said they won 82% of their games for the whole decade, and that's why that's dominance. He said that they were beating the Lakers. However, the Lakers won more when they were facing off against each other. So that was something that I took note of. Celtics, and they won more in total. So Celtics would make modern day rosters look minuscule, was a statement that he made. He reread the teammates and then added Rick Rubin and Scott Weidman. And then you talked about the 86 run with 67 wins beating the Bucks, the Bulls, and the Rockets. I think that Casual had a fantastic thoughts to bring into it. I think that Travis laid out his situation more, providing more evidence-based claims. But I think it was a close round. It was pretty hard to think of who won that, but I gave the round to Travis. And then Travis led for the 3rd round, saying tying in numbers that matter. He said that Larry Bird joined a 29-win team the year before, that there were no other significant guys that joined that team, but they got to 61 wins, where Larry Bird led the points and rebounds, and then he led them points and rebounds 4 times, and then in respect to the finals runs, and then he led with assists twice. He said during the 9 finals runs, Magic only led these categories twice in total for 2 of them. Larry Bird led more than Robert Parrish for total rebounds. Magic Johnson only led an assist during that time, where he was close, or for Larry Bird, and Larry Bird was the best and it wasn't close across the board. And then Casual said a bad thing that someone else is lesser, talking about more help, not value of help. Other circumstances had to deal with injuries, which I thought was a fantastic point. It came on the team, not the quality of the team. Given specifics for numbers of games people are playing, and then they was dominating at the account. Magic Johnson had great players on his team, 184, and then he repeated the players again, and then mentioned that Angel's young. I thought for that last year, I thought that the best rebuttal in probably the whole debate came from Casual talking about the injuries being an aspect of that success of Bird. Now, however, I still had to give that round to Travis. I think just in that round, he provided more specific evidence, but that one was close too. I think the only round. So in total, I think that Travis won this debate from my perspective. I think that Travis really, in ways, hurt himself, but set himself up in other ways. But I think he didn't really tie it in a lot of the points he was making in that first round. But I think that Casual clearly won the first round. I think both of the rounds were close otherwise. And I give this debate to Travis. King's Speech said that he gave the first 2 rounds to Casual without giving his thing because he's got technical difficulties. So at this point, it's a draw. We have League of Hoops here. League of Hoops, did you watch this whole debate?
No, I didn't watch it. I ain't watch it.
Okay, well, I
just got here.
Okay, well then, just on a sidebar, if you could judge the next debate, but I'm going to put you backstage for now. So at this point, we got to call this debate a draw. I saw it one way. King's Speech saw it another way. I think it was close. I think that Casual could have won all 3 potentially. I think that both the second and third round, though, you had repeated a lot of the same points that you were making throughout with listing names. But I think that your points otherwise and your counters were very strong, and it was hard. It was coming through the butt of a bee's hair. Sorry, I would have rather have cursed, so that came out terrible. But anyway,
Nah, I get you. I thought the second round was close. I thought the third round. I don't know. I didn't think I repeated the team again in round 3, but I probably did. But I kept repeating it because I was trying to. I wanted to like see if you were going to like address it at some point. Eat them off the clock. And when you didn't, and third round, I thought this was like, I'm just, oh, I'm sorry. I was like, man, forget it's going to going on.
all right. debates.
Um, you
some of the critics watch it. And so before that, he was.
And you're talking about family values because of
the Bret Hart match from wrestling been given
prominence comparison.
Had Stone Cold was.
There's no.
Making Jeff Jarrett whole
was already over.
It's about the
out. You have
because that's
one that's controversial. Yeah, that's fine. Before they debate me.
Well, next I'm going to be debating same time, same place. I'm going to be debating CW as to what top 10 player had the biggest playoff meltdown of all time. And this
what
is
top 10 player?
Yeah, well, top 10 player. I mean, it's just easier that way. And
so what all-time great had the worst meltdown?
Yeah, worst playoff battle of all time, and like why? Give our reasoning for that, which I think is contentious. So we'll be doing that.
See, that's an interesting topic. I like that. Yeah. That's like a niche. I like that. That would be something I'd be interested in, like researching and sort of having a debate on.
Yeah, definitely. We're always looking to shake it up.
Yeah.
I will be unavailable next week for the people that care about me. Apparently no one's a Hulkamaniac around here, but for all you Dartamaniacs,
it's so sour.
For all the Dartamaniacs out there, brothers, I will not be here next week, but I'll be back after that.
That's funny.
Okay.
Am I able to get a recording of this?
Yeah. I'll send it to you.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Y'all have anything else to say?
No, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this is a good time. We'll post this and see what the audio or what the quality looks like. But
should be fine.
Yeah, it should be fine. And then next week, we still look out for that. And this is just to, again, let everyone know, look out for some midweek content too, hopefully. So, but yeah,
cool.
Here on Lights Up.
Absolutely, where we dare you to debate. And thanks again, Nick. Thanks, Casual. Thanks, Travis. Until hope you guys take your vitamins.